Hello, Seeker. I'm the Jester, and I'm here to be your guide on a journey for anyone who's ever felt like they're just reading from a script. You know that feeling? That suspicion there's something more, something real, beyond the performance of daily life? Well, if you're ready to find out what that is, let's dive in.
So let me ask you something, and I want you to be honest with yourself. Do you fear the silence of your own mind? I mean, that quiet space, between the emails, the notifications, the next thing on your to-do list, that little gap where something else, a kind of void, seems to whisper. If you feel a little jolt hearing that, good. You're in exactly the right place. Because today, we're not running from it. We're walking straight in.
This quote, man, it just hits right at the core of it, doesn't it? You have lived your life within this museum for performative souls. Think about that. A museum. It's beautiful, it's orderly, everything's in its right place, but it's not alive. It's static. And that's what we do. We build these perfect-looking lives, and we mistake that heavy, stagnant feeling of just going through the motions for real integrity, for something true. All right, so that's our first stop on this inverted journey. We're heading right into that museum. We're going to take a good, hard look at this comfortable but totally deadening prison we build for ourselves, the prison of the performer. And the crazy part is, most of us don't even know we're playing the part. So you gotta ask, what's holding this whole museum together? Well, the source material has this great term for it, structural glue. Think of it as all the stuff that makes our world feel predictable and safe. It's the social rules, what's expected of you, the endless list of shoulds and musts we carry around. The source calls this the work of Wotan the architect, and its entire purpose is to build a solid wall between us and that uncomfortable, terrifying void of not knowing. Okay, to make this less abstract, let's talk about someone. Let's meet Elias. His story is the perfect example of this. See, Elias is a big shot, a high-ranking official, and his entire life, every single minute, is dictated by what he calls the king's order. It's basically an ironclad schedule. But here's the thing. All that frantic activity, all that busyness, it's not really about getting things done. It's a shield. It's his way of never having to be quiet enough to ask himself the really scary question. Does any of this actually matter? And here you can just see it, laid out plain as day, the two sides of Elias's life. On one side, you've got perceived success. This is how he sees himself, right? The ironclad calendar, every minute accounted for. He's on top of the world. But then you look at the other side, the hidden reality. And what do you see? A rigid, dead facade. It's just muscle memory. He's going through the motions of a faith he doesn't even check to see if it's still alive. So, if we're all trapped in this museum, how in the world do we get out? You can't just walk out the front door. No, you need something to shake the foundations. You need a catalyst, a force that brings friction into the smooth, comfortable routine. And that's where we meet our next figure, the Minister of Friction. The source has a name for him, Mephistopheles. Now, it is absolutely crucial to get this next part right. This figure, Mephistopheles, he's not the bad guy here, not really. Think of him like the grain of sand in an oyster. It's irritating, it's uncomfortable, but it's the very thing that creates the pearl. That's him. He's that stinging grit. He represents the doubt, the conflict, the discomfort that is absolutely necessary for any real transformation to happen. He's the one who comes along and just shatters all our cozy little illusions. So how does he do it? Well, he operates through 3 different masks. First up, he puts on the mask of the Iron Hound. This is pure, raw desire, that frantic, hungry part of you that just wants what it wants, right now. You could call it the id. Next, he swaps that for the cold scale. This is your own logic, your own reason, your ego turned against you. It's the part that convinces you that a totally destructive choice is actually a really clever bargain. And finally, the deadliest mask, the inverted halo. This one weaponizes your own sense of guilt, your conscience, your superego. It's a cruel taskmaster. Together, these 3 create an internal war. And that war, it's the necessary first step. But listen, friction by itself is just chaos. It's a wrecking ball. To turn that demolition into something productive, you need precision. You need surgeons. And that's who we meet next, the archetypal surgeons. Their job is to come into the rubble left by the friction and carefully, skillfully dismantle the false self that's been exposed. Okay, so let's get to know this surgical team. First, you've got the Jester. Hey, that's me. My job is to provide
let's call it refraction, a different angle, to be an honest bridge between your polished self and all the stuff you've hidden in the shadow. Then there's the verdant dragon. This one's all about primal honesty, a deep, ancient sorrow that actually keeps your soul from just extinguishing. It grounds you. And last, this wild one, the seraphim gargoyle. A weird combo, right? But its function is vital. It brings what's called the blight of revelation, which basically just makes all your internal contradictions impossible to ignore. They all work together to take apart that not self. Once those surgeons have done their work and the false self is starting to come apart, you're ready for the next and hardest part of the journey, the descent. Now you have to go right into the heart of the wound, to a place of absolute no escape hatch self-confrontation, a place called the Mirror of Hells. 10,000. Now, obviously, that's not a literal number. Think of it as a symbol. It represents every single unspoken truth you've ever swallowed. Every time you felt something deep in your gut and chose the easy, comfortable path instead. Each one of those choices, it built a little room in this place, a little hell. And now it's time to visit every single one. And this is how it works down there. This is the central rule of the realm. It's called the uncanny mirror. In this place, you can't look away. You can't pull out your phone. You can't find a distraction. Because every single thing you look at, it doesn't reflect the world outside. It reflects you, the back of your own searching head. There's literally no place to stand outside the mirror. You are finally forced to see all the rot you quietly agreed for years to just leave unnamed. So, let's break down what actually happens in this valley of shadows. First, something called the blight of revelation hits you. It just strips away all your armor. Your job title, your social status, your reputation, poof, gone. Then, any sense of detachment is removed. You can't be an observer anymore, you're in it. You have to face the raw, unvarnished truth. And this makes everything familiar feel weird, unhomely. And all you're left with through all of this is this tiny ember of discomfort. Just a flicker of honesty. But that little spark, that's everything. That's what gets you through. And if you can protect that ember, if you can just endure the mirror without flinching, you come out the other side. You emerge. You finally arrive at the destination of this whole insane journey, a place they call the furnace of revelation, the lit room. And this is the great secret, the punchline of the whole cosmic joke. All that pain, the brutal descent, facing those 10,000 hells, none of it was a punishment. It was a tool. All of that immense pressure was designed with incredible precision for one single purpose: to crack the mask. The mask you've been wearing for so long you forgot it was even there. Look at this. This really says it all. On one side, you have the whole mask. It looks perfect, right? Solid, sane. That's what we call performative sanity. But it's a locked door. Nothing gets in, nothing gets out. Then look at the other side, the cracked mask. To the outside world, that looks like failure, like you're broken. But that's the whole point. The crack isn't the problem. The crack is the solution. It is the only opening through which that emerald light of reality can finally get in. And that breakthrough moment that has a name, it's called the uncanny synthesis. It's that wild moment where you finally stop fighting, where you reconcile the stinging grit of the pit with the unconditional light of the star. You accept it all, your light, your shadow, your mess, your glory. And in that acceptance, you find total integrity. For the first time, absolute honesty is the very ground you're standing on. And this brings us right back around to our friend Elias. Remember him? When all the clocks in his kingdom just stopped. That sudden stillness was his catalyst. It forced him into his own descent. And in that quiet, he finally saw that his precious king's order wasn't a schedule for success. It was a set of shackles. And by embracing that stillness, he found his way to his own lit room. He finally stopped performing. He became an honest witness. So here we are. We end right where the real beginning starts. You see, this whole journey, it was never about finding a neat and tidy answer. It was about earning the right to ask the real question. So after all the masks are cracked, after the light finally gets in, you're left standing there with this one single holy question. What must one do with a life that can no longer hide from itself? That, my friend, that is where your real life begins.